Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to Kickstarting the Machine Economy, a special X Space that we have lined up for you today. I'm excited for everybody to join us. For those of you who are new to our space, my name is James. I'm the community manager here at EOT Labs and Peaq Network, and this is another in our series of spaces highlighting some of the amazing projects, accomplishments, and current events in the Peaq ecosystem. While we get everybody up on stage, while we deal with the technical difficulties that often plague us in these early spaces, I just wanted to make sure that we get a little housekeeping out of the way before we start the space. So as we announced this a little bit late, I was wondering if everybody in the space could take the time to share this space. If you could retweet this to your Twitter communities, if you could share this in your Discords, post it to your Telegrams. Let's make sure that everybody who's interested in listening to what I think is going to be a really fun and amazing space knows about it and gets the opportunity to listen. The other thing that I would like to let everybody know about is that we always have to be vigilant and we always have to be safe. We live in a Web3 environment and it is inherently unsafe. As Peaq gains momentum, as we gain popularity, more and more people are trying to take advantage of our community, especially with some of the more recent events that we're going to talk about today. We've seen a lot of new scams, new scam sites, new fake links floating around. So I want to make sure that everybody takes the time to verify things before you click them. Please make sure that you are in our official channels. Please make sure that you verify those are official by going to our website, peaq.network, and following the links from that website. You can do the same also with any DPIN that you are interested in learning about. Just make sure that you always verify, don't trust. We do live in a Web3 environment. The next thing, and almost the last thing, is that these spaces we typically make a little interactive. Today's a little bit different, but if you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Twitter thread below. I am going to be paying attention, and if we have time, we will see if we can get some of your questions asked to our panelists. But I do believe we have a full slate for today. I will try my best. And lastly, I have to say that anything that we discuss today should not be taken as financial advice. Please do your own research and make those decisions on your own. So I am going to continue to get people up on stage. As we go into this, if Mauricio is in the crowd, please feel free to request. And I know Theo is up and down and up and down. So we will get that sorted out. Ah, you're here. Excellent.
Yeah, I'm here. Works perfectly now.
Perfect. Sometimes it takes a few tries to get into these spaces. And it's because I continue to call it Twitter. And I'm sure that Elon is not happy with me. But while I continue to do this, I wanted to introduce the space. So today, we are going to be speaking with one of the co-founders of Peaq, Leo. Theo, co-founder of Silencio, and founding member of the XMAQUINA DAO, Mauricio. But today's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to step aside and I'm going to let our honored guest, Dylan Bain of Messari Crypto, moderate and lead this conversation. Some of the topics that I'm excited to hear about, that I'm sure we will cover, are going to include the first TGE on Peaq with Silencio, the now sold out XMAQUINA DAO Genesis auction, and always I'm excited to hear more about the launch of the Get Real campaign. But without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome Dylan from Messari Crypto up to the stage. Welcome, Dylan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm really looking forward to this. I know the audience is really looking forward to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step aside and hand you the reins and let you take over while I try to get Mauricio up here in the background and manage everything else. So enjoy.
Yeah. So welcome everyone to the Kickstarting the Machine Economy spaces. Like our Peaq host described, we'll be talking about what's been going on in Peaq, some of the major developments in the space so far, some high-profile TGEs, And we also want to get a bit deeper into what exactly is the machine economy, what is physical AI, what is decentralized physical AI, and how does this all come together? So I'll start off just letting each of our panelists give their own introduction, I guess starting with Leo. So you can just give a short, brief introduction.
Awesome. Yes. Hello, everyone. Great to see you all, or speak with you all. Yeah. So I'm Leo, one of the co-founders of Peaq, and Peaq is, in a nutshell, a layer one for Deepin, but always with the bigger vision of enabling the machine economy. That's actually how we started. We said, okay, in order to enable the machine economy, which can only happen on Web3, we need to build a L1 that is optimized for machines. And the way we see it is that many deepens working together and atomic composability is actually what creates the machine economy.
Awesome. I'll have Theo introduce himself next.
Hey guys, what's up, Dylan? Thanks so much for doing the hosting and having us all here with Peaq and Xmachina today. Next to me, I actually have my co-founder Thomas with me, and so he wasn't introduced, but he's gonna be.
Hey guys, happy to be joining here as well, sitting next to Theo, so don't get confused when you hear two different voices. Happy also to talk a bit about us. Theo and myself are brothers. We have been living together longer than we've been working together, but we are entrepreneurial brothers, and we always say we're like a yin and yang. We compete each other quite nicely when it comes to entrepreneurship, and together we have been co-founding Silencio. Silencio is one of the largest growing deepens out there, and we created a network that rewards users for delivering noise level data on a hyper level just by using their smartphone. So it's a free gamified mobile application you can download anytime and join our network and help us deliver hyperlocal noise level data in order to help us redefine how we value real estate worldwide, how we select restaurants and hotels in the future, and even seeing live noise complaints all around the globe. But maybe Silencio, just to recap, doesn't stop there, as we already became the world's largest noise level data bank thanks to this amazing community. We're taking things a step forward, and we want to become the hub to commercialize any type of smartphone generated data. So we look forward to that phase of our project.
Yeah, happy to be here today with you guys and giving on the word probably to Mauricio.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Great to be here. Thanks everyone for joining the space, and thanks for inviting Peaq. Yeah, I'm Mauricio, one of the founding members at XMAQUINA DAO. XMAQUINA DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization for decentralized autonomous machines. So you can think of it as an investment DAO, bringing together a global community to collaboratively fund, develop, and govern all of this transformative technology that's going to be soon all over our everyday lives. Yeah, that's a quick overview. I'll let the host Dylan kick off the spaces.
Very cool. Thank you. So I want to start out with speaking a bit about the first quarter of Peaq. So Peaq's TGE was on November 12th, I believe. I'd love to hear, probably from Leo to start, how have the first 3 months of Peaq's launch been? What progress has been made in that time? And what are any key developments that have happened since then?
Absolutely. Yeah, so launching a layer one network is no joke, to put it like this, right? There are many things that go into it, and of course, achieving that moment of launch was amazing. Yet the journey continues straight away, right? There's just so much to do and to build, be it infrastructure pieces that Deepins need in order to build on Peaq, in order to launch on Peaq, or be it like really supporting also the projects coming on chain, right? Because we've built up that amazing ecosystem with Silencio, for example, Xmachina, but then it's really also about, okay, now the chain is live and getting and supporting the projects coming on chain. And since we launched, and it's basically a quarter now, as you said, that has happened, right? So Silencio is on chain, at least to a certain degree. It's scaling up now. Further deepens are coming on chain now, which is super exciting to see that like all that traction we've built up prior to mainnet launch is now really materializing also in on chain stats that we can all look at together. We just launched last week the Get Real campaign, which is something that we've been working on very hard for a very long time. And it's a growth campaign solely focused on growing deepens, building on Peaq, and of course also things like bootstrapping TVL for DeFi primitives that are launching in the next weeks. So it's a growth campaign that rewards users for actual sustainable value creation and not just mercenary bridging of some liquidity and then the campaign is over and people go again. That's also the reason why we built a custom user interface and process, because there was no platform out there which we could use to really build a sustainable growth campaign that creates lasting value and not just a quick growth spike and then it would flatten out again. That is in beta right now. So we're stabilizing everything, making sure that the claiming goes live and all of that, which is happening this week. So that's been a lot of our effort. But then, of course, I mean, Silencio launching, right? That was a big milestone. Xmachina having the first Genesis auction, also big milestone. And yet it's still very early days. There's so much to come. And yeah, it's really nonstop building, supporting the ecosystem, improving the developer experience. New documentation is almost out. So yeah, as you can imagine, it's yeah, great journey of many things, nonstop.
Yeah, so it's definitely been a very jam-packed, eventful quarter. Before we get more into Silencio and Ex Machina, I wanted to ask and kind of maybe illustrate more for the audience. What exactly is the machine economy? What does Peaq mean when they say that? And what if like the Get Real campaign and the other developments you've highlighted? How does that kind of work into the machine economy?
Absolutely. So when we had the vision for Peaq, it came from working on multiple, let's say, IoT blockchain use cases, such as a decentralized charging platform. We worked on that with Audi and the Volkswagen Group, and we realized that IoT based on Web 2 is very limited because all those devices and machines, they just exist on one centralized closed platform. And then when we thought about, okay, how can, when you look into the future and envision a smart city, how can that smart city actually function if all of those devices, machines, and users are super fragmented in all those closed, centralized platforms which just have a single use case running on it? And we thought, okay, that's not possible. It needs to be an open system where all those devices and machines have an identity on, where they can, identify, authenticate, transact, share data, and so on and so on. And that's really where the initial, like the vision for Peaq came from. And when you ask what is the machine economy, so the machine economy from our perspective is the point in time, and of course it's evolving, but where goods and services are being offered and consumed by machines and humans in a completely efficient way and marketplace. It's also an era where we don't necessarily need our phone anymore or browsers to find something, but we have agents that are just finding the shortest way to get to work or finding the cheapest energy along the way. So you have all of those smart devices that are connected, smart machines that are connected, which can offer and consume goods and services. And we humans interact with our AI agents in finding and consuming those. And this is only possible built on Web3. and deepens our collectively bootstrapping the infrastructure, like connecting all of those devices and getting all of that data open so that we can start having a free exchange of goods and services based on that data, based on those devices being connected. And yeah, that in the future, maybe adding to the bigger vision, like really building a machine economy that's also inclusive and allows everyone to participate and become part of, and not be something that's controlled by a few big companies, because then also all the value generation is limited to those companies. And yeah, we don't want this future to be centralized. It needs to be open, it needs to be permissionless, and everyone needs to be able to join in and earn and use it.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to get deeper into both the machine economy and the kind of AI agents you describe later in the space. For that, I want to turn to Silencio. So you guys recently had a TGE. Love to hear how that went. You were the first TGE on Peak, and also love to hear why you thought that was the first, why the time was right for the Silencio TGE.
Hey guys, happy to join here. Thomas speaking. Yeah, so first of all, we're super proud to have been the first one to officially launch on Peak. We have been working though very closely with all the Peak community for almost 2 years now. So honestly, this was just one minor milestone for us in terms of how we see going forward. Also, the story of Silencio. And I must say, in terms of timing, for us, we try not to look too much at market momentum, because at the end of the day, for us, it was really about making sure that we allocate the resources where they're needed most. And it just felt right. The product market fit was already there. We were at over half a million users, creating billions of data points in over 180 countries, and at that moment, even growing the community at over 20,000 people a day. Right now it's about 6,000 and growing as well. So it just really felt like the right moment to take that TGE bandage off, because we feel that a lot of times, in the Web3 space, the TGE is such a big milestone, but at the same time, for us, it was always clear it's just one stepping stone of the many we want and need to take for this project to become a success.
Yeah, definitely. And as Thomas is saying, I mean, this is just one step going forward. It's the one step that we are confident that's going to get us to the 3 million users this year, which is a conservative assumption on our end. It's supposed to accompany us in the data collection element, and we are doing a very innovative approach in that, as you might have seen with our raffle system, and all of that essentially is going to turbocharge that supply side. And I think as founders, we're super stoked to go back into building mode and focusing on those fundamentals that over time we want to bring on chain. And yeah, just excited to have been now the first on that. And again, as Thomas is saying, taking a long view on the market in itself. I think just in general, digital assets are being accepted more and more. We see this in the United States establishing itself. And so I think that if you take a longer view at things, it looks very optimistic.
Very cool. Want to ask a follow-up. How has it been building in the Peak ecosystem? Why did you actually choose to build on Peak, and how's it been just working with the team?
Yeah, sure. I think let me go directly to that one. Thomas and I think this was 2 years ago, in the middle of the bear market, or 3 years ago. Yeah, 2.5, I think. We met Leo actually through a DM that came directly to us, and then we met in person in Germany. And founder to founder, we just really clicked. The vision that he described, having this, billions of devices interconnected, producing value where you can own that value, you can start contributing it, and all of that being permissionless was something that we really saw the internet of the future, and the internet we want to be building and be a part of in the future. And so from a founder's perspective, we really clicked. And then on a technology stack, it enables exactly what we want to do. I think, Thomas, you can go directly to that one.
Yeah, happy also to add a bit of comments on that side. As you know, Silencio is, based in terms of tapping into idle infrastructure. We came from, being major deployers in Europe of first generation deepin. So we already had our first deepin rodeo long before the term deepin was even coiled. So we understood very quickly what, really worked and what didn't with deepins. So one thing that we were very passionate about was to making it a free entry door for people to join, even a door for deepen on a general basis. That's why tapping into smartphones was the way to go for us. And if you look at Peaq itself, in terms of also the unique machine IDs that they have created, giving the possibility for machines to talk directly to one another without having any type of intermediary, just make complete sense for us. Also in terms of how we want to take this vision going forward, creating a more decentralized, secure, and private way, and an efficient way of machines being able to communicate. So for us, Silencio, tapping into smartphones was the beginning. And we do see a potential in the future where we start expanding those data capturing capabilities to further idle infrastructure out there.
Very cool. I want to turn next to Xmachina. So I believe you recently sold out your auction for the Deus Genesis future token event. Correct me on how that works exactly. Um, Mauricio, could you explain exactly what this auction was, and where Xmachina currently stands in terms of progress?
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, we currently or we recently, actually yesterday, sold out the first round of the Genesis auction. So it's a staged auction that will happen in different waves, 3 to 4 different waves. And this first wave was specifically in Peaq tokens, so you could only contribute in the Peaq token, and it's essentially the way we're seeding the machine DAO. So people can contribute these different tokens. Later waves will add different tokens such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then some blue chip deepen tokens and AI tokens as well. So essentially, people contribute their tokens, and in return, they get the governance Deus token for the DAO. And then we're creating this multi token treasury that can then be governed and used to invest, develop, and create these different projects, yeah, in the machine economy to basically further grow the ecosystem and develop our machine economy launchpad that is also coming, which will allow people to issue sub DAOs and so on. So essentially, the auction is just the first public sale where people can get access to the token and contribute funds to the DAO's treasury, which will then be governed by that same token, the Deus token.
Yeah, why don't we delve a bit deeper into physical AI? So I think this is kind of a newer space. People are starting to see new acronyms, whether it's DePi or DPain. Ex Machina has been looking at robots and general and the broader space for some time now. And I think you're uniquely positioned to understand this space. So could you speak more about the opportunity in decentralized physical AI, where it lies, and what you're kind of excited about right now?
Yeah, for sure. Well, of course, we believe that humanoids and just robotics in general will likely be the most disruptive technology since the internet. We're essentially inviting like artificial agent into our physical world at this point, and yeah, and these will have profound consequences. And there's two different paths that we could take, right? We could take the centralized approach, which we have been doing for a lot of AI right now, or we can take the more open, decentralized alternative or open source alternative, which we're also starting to see now in AI with DeepSeek and so on. But yeah, for us, our thesis is that like 2025 and 2026 is going to be like breakthrough years. As technology advances, like AI is getting really far ahead. Battery systems are getting better. The scalable manufacturing processes are converging all together, making humanoids and robotics more economically viable and potentially becoming mainstream in the next 5 to 10 years. So we see these next years as like these products are being built. This is the time to kind of position yourself into these companies that are going to be yeah, kind of changing the world, the next Apples, the next Googles. And that's why we think a machine DAO that democratizes access to all of these different companies that are usually private, or these different machines that people usually cannot afford on their own, is very big. And this is why this Genesis auction also helps that, right? We've had over 1,000 contributors, so very distributed from day one. And as we have more waves, it'll be more and more members coming in, allowing us to really govern and vote and have democratic say in the system, rather than if we would have taken the normal VC approach and just had a big concentration of the supply in maybe like 5 to 10 investors' hands. So yeah, we're essentially trying to create a future where like these humanoids and robots integrate into our daily lives, and the people can kind of govern them and have a say in how they are and just benefit from their adoption overall.
Awesome. So I want to zoom out a bit with physical AI. I think peak machine economy is uniquely suited to potentially integrate physical AI into the machine economy. I see a lot of potential with physical AI agents. I think Leo kind of spoke about. Would love to hear maybe from Leo more. How can Peak really support physical AI? And what are the applications that you see that can be enabled by Peak?
Yeah, maybe I'll start with adding to what Mauricio just said. I think one really initial simple, or not simple, but one step is really to think about how can people collectively earn from physical AI. And I think this is where Xmachina also comes in and starts, because there are a few physical AI machines which are really good at generating revenue on scale. So first step is really that people can own a share in that revenue. They can own a share in that machine, and we can create a way where passive income is also like can be generated from physical AI by individuals and not just by businesses that create a whole structure around that. So I think that's something really important to democratize access to earning from autonomous machines or physical AI, as the name is. So that's a big first step, and a bit more medium to long term. I think perfect example is a robo taxi, which is kind of physical AI as a proper economic agent, where a robotaxi can drive around and people can pay it to go from A to B. So it actually earns money in performing that service. And at the same time, can go to a charging station, then pays a charging station again for getting energy, or it drives through a toll road and has to pay for that toll road. So we're gonna see more and more how actual robotics uh, combined with AI, physical AI, is going to move through our cities and gonna be agents that autonomously perform, that offer goods and services, but also consume goods and services. And this is really, like, speaking about the machine economy and physical AI, where I think in 10 to 20 years, we're going to see, like an explosion overall of those robots being out there. And I think where Deepin really comes in is one, getting, like crowdsourcing the infrastructure of that physical AI, like individually contributing it, but also forming the capital. And this is again where Xmachina comes in, right? Having a way of capital formation to initially fund and buy that physical AI, which is then being deployed, and everyone can earn from that. So I think there's also a big financial element to physical AI emerging, and we also call this machine DeFi, where existing DeFi primitives are now being applied to one, well, Deepins, but also for tokenized machines, revenue generating machines, and you can create all kinds of things, even machine prediction markets, that, where insurances can insure against a certain, hedge against their insurance. But of course, having also tokenized machines as a new form of collateral, and you just create this whole financial ecosystem based on billions and then trillions worth of physical AI.
Yeah, so obviously a very large stack, both long run with just full scale robotic deployment. I want to kind of speak more about what's the most short term opportunity. So my impression is that a lot of physical AI needs data, whether it's to train physical AI or just to inform how a physical AI agent might interact with the real world. And I think like protocols like Silencio and others can kind of contribute that data to enable those physical AI agents. So I'd love to hear from you all. Where do you see data collection, deep in basically collected data, fitting into physical AI? And do you see a short-term opportunity there? And I guess we can start with Leo
Yeah.
or Silencio.
Oh, okay, fine. Maybe Leo, you want to go first?
Yeah, maybe I can just real quick. I think that's a really powerful one, because in order for physical AI to move through the world, right, a machine doesn't have organs like we have, that like can't see or hear or touch. A physical machine needs data in order to move through the world, and there's no better way to collect data on scale and all over the place than deepens. And I think, this is exactly where Silencio comes in. Over to you, Theo.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one thought I just had is that, you see, it used to be that we think about these technologies in isolated states, right? So you have robotics, you have crypto, you have AI, and suddenly, with deepen, all of these narratives and things are starting to merge into one big value creation of cluster of technology, and the future doesn't seem so far away all of the sudden through this. And I think that AI primarily faces, right? You have a couple of challenges, obviously, but one of them is being the compute element that we're well aware of, and where perhaps decentralized cloud storage can help with that. But one real bottleneck is data quality, and so we see today that the Anthropics of today, the Groks, the DeepSeeks, or the OpenAI, all of these AI businesses that are really pioneering on the high end are running out of field data. And so I think that this is the long term or mid to long term vision of Silencio. It's really positioning us as this data engine, as a petrol station of data for field data out there, for these businesses to be able to capture data at an unprecedented scale, and do so in an ethical and compliant manner. So you have those trends as well, right? You have data privacy trends, and in the US, in Europe with GDPR, even in China. And so capturing that data becomes more challenging. And as the internet in itself has already been largely used all the data available to construct the models of today, we need to find innovative ways to be able to capture data at a new scale, and really going through the long tail principle of deepen, of crowdsourcing data through 7 billion smartphones potentially, is a way to go, in my opinion. Yeah, there's forces that come into that, right? So you have better smartphone hardware. So if you think about 10 years ago how your smartphone was versus 10 years from now, what it's going to be, the biggest asset of Silencio will be having 50 million users who want to actively capture all types of smartphone generated data, and delivering that at a unprecedented scale, and Silencio being able to co-pioneer this data products with not only AI companies, but any technology company on a Web 2 level.
Yeah, maybe just to quickly add there, like the data pool that's being built up for machines to then buy and consume in order to understand where they are, right? What's their current positioning, how to move through a certain space. I think that's really the first big step. Yes, enabling machines to see the world is Deepan's first contribution. And for example, you guys, right, Silencio, just announced a partnership with Orki, who's also working on that as a metadata aggregator, basically standardization. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the partnership with Oki, Thomas speaking here, is really amazing for us because it really helps us to pinpoint our measurements, to be exact, and this means that we can really see the difference between being at the first, floor or a 50th floor of a building, or is it, which hotel room from an hotel. And this really creates a value and richness in our data that was not there before. And if we're talking in combination with the application of AI, we can really start looking at how we can massively increase our data density thanks to the amazing foundation that our community already created, and giving us the right forecasting capabilities that we need, trend identifications, and even like automatic ways of reporting. So if you think about using this in our data set right now, in a couple of weeks, we're going to be launching our new browser, data browser, that is going to give you a super immersive experience with all our data sets. And you're going to be able, a couple of weeks after that, to be able to enhance those directly with AI. So you can already be typing, for example, into a chat, okay, I'm looking for a quiet restaurant in my neighborhood, and automatically it's going to show you a list, of the ones that are close by, that have good ratings, et cetera, et cetera. So you get where I'm going with this, but it's really about empowering people to take smarter choices. And this is where Silencio fits in really nicely into this picture.
Yeah, I'd also love to hear from Mauricio how you think about collecting data for physical AI and any opportunity you see there.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention Aoki as well because they're doing a great job there. And as well, I think in terms of the opportunity, well, we were doing some research a few months back, and we realized that a lot of these robotics companies are paying people to basically wear skeleton suits and like play robot. So you're saying, yeah, like companies like Tesla pay up to $50 an hour to people to do that. I think that is a big opportunity. I think whoever cracks that nut and basically finds the right I mean, there's a lot of R&D that has to go into it, but produces the right hardware to kind of create those data sets that these robotics companies and humanoid companies are looking for and are currently lacking. um, I think Deepin is a perfect case for this, and if a token incentivized network that allows maybe, just for example, somebody with some meta glasses where they're recording first person, and then potentially some motion sensor gloves could be recording their everyday life and their tasks that they're doing, whether it's changing a tire or just cooking or so on. I think this type of data could be very valuable to these robotics companies. And could advance, yeah, like the way that these robots evolve in a faster way. If they're basically able to crowdsource all this data from people, millions of people all over the world, um, I think that's a big opportunity. I'm not sure that just a mobile data would be able to do that. I'm not an expert in robotics training, but I think there's a big opportunity in that space.
Awesome. I wanted to turn to what's next for the machine economy broadly. So, what's next for Peak in 2025, for Silencio and excuse me, and Xmachina. I guess we would start with Leo.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this year is jam packed with all kinds of massive initiatives. I think on the machine economy side, one big thing that's happening in the next weeks and month that's going to be a continuous process is really kickstarting the machine DeFi ecosystem. So having machine like DeFi primitives which are optimized for specific tokens and which are also built and with partners with the long-term vision of the machine economy in mind, and not just the standard things as we see them today in the space. So that's a big part. that's coming. Of course, more and more deepens coming on chain. Working also on creating more synergies between the deepens, working on standardizations of certain data, of certain functionality, which is also needed for the data to be, universally usable, so that all kinds of deepened data follows a certain standardized way. There are a few things which are in the pipeline that will be released very soon from our side as well. So that's a big part, like getting those building blocks in place. But we're also going to more and more really work in physical spaces on physical AI, right? Like really applying those cases to smart cities, and bringing the different deepens and builders together to collaborate and create that basis for the machine economy to emerge.
Why don't we go next to Silencio? What do you have in store ahead for 2025?
Sure. So I think now that we jumped that hurdle of finally launching the token, we're super happy to go back fully on the fundamental side, which is something that we as founders are most excited about. We want to really scale the demand side and over time bring that all on chain to make it super transparent. There's a tremendous opportunity on the B2B side that we continue to explore and are looking there to enhance with new hires, specifically those who are already building amazing data products with these companies. And then we are looking into a B2C uh, data product, which is going to be something that anyone who is moving to a new apartment has access to. And so the idea here is to start integrating the community as well, create community initiatives where people are going to be able to bring us business, and through that also profit from revenue sharing agreements, and create a over time also decentralized governance and with the token holders to be looking into the business elements at the demand side. So I think that's one element that I'm super excited about, and again making it super transparent on Dune Analytics.
Yeah, also maybe to add one or two comments on my side, touching back on what I was saying before about using now AI to enhance our data sets. This means that some of our data sets are already ready for commercialization, are being commercialized. Others still need more density. So using AI is really going to enable us to have all surrounding coverage, which all of a sudden you have a massively scalable product. And this is where we're going to be using, as Theo was saying, the advantages of having a Web3 community to scale your sales. We always like to say, if you convince 1% of your community to go out there and sell a product for you, that would already be 8,000 people for us already. So as we progress this future, we're also going to be tapping closer and closer into more established data markets, like the POI or fitness data market, tapping into also part of that 300 billion personal data industry, as we are also creating new data sets in the next couple of weeks. One is going to be, or both are going to be passive. You're going to be able to share anonymously your location and fitness data. I always with full transparency and data privacy compliant, tapping into markets that are already valued at over 20 billion and growing at a two-digit numbers every year. So last but not least, we're going to be building out all the APIs, creating very deep and enhanced data platforms for B2B and B2G to be able to interact with that. And the community is going to be seeing also all the next product updates we have in plan for all of this, massive outreach into new data sets capabilities. So definitely a lot of interesting things for us in the near future, and we look forward to continuing this journey with Peaq and a growing Peaq ecosystem.
Yeah. And also Xmachina, love to hear what's next for 2025 and for physical AI more broadly.
Yeah, so we'll continue to host the following waves of our Genesis auction. And during this time, we'll already start our DAO governance. So whoever's holding the current receipt tokens from the auctions can actually participate in governance, and we'll may even be deploying the first machine as a proof of concept while we're still hosting the last couple of auctions. During that time, we'll also be deploying our machine DAO portal, which is essentially the management hub to streamline governance, staking, and kind of provides an overview of the DAO's treasury. So all of the on-chain assets, and if there's potentially any equity investments and so on, you would have just an overview of the company, the purchase price of the stocks or shares, and so on. And it's just a general overview of the DAO and its standing, its treasury, and its assets. After that, in early Q2, we're planning our TGE once all of the auctions have ended. And once TGE happens, we'll have full DAO governance deployed. We'll be using the Aragon OSX stack, so it's all battle tested contracts which are being used by like Lido or some of the Optimism DAO, some of the top DAOs in the space. And then once the DAO is up and running, we'll be launching all of our different DAO units. So we have Deus Labs, which is in-house R&D and development unit, which essentially we can fund development with different universities or research institutions to create these kinds of products that we were speaking about, Dylan. So, like, how can we solve some of these pain points with deepen in robotics and create these new data sets? So these kind of things we would do R&D on and potentially incubate, physical AI products or deepens. And then once that is done, we're also deploying an AI agent. This AI agent is more of a fun community initiative. We're actually shaping it right now in our Discord, so people can vote, and we're submitting forms and so on to kind of create this DAO's agent, which is essentially just going to automate and streamline operations for us. So it will kind of aggregate all the data from proposals from different companies and how they're performing, the different assets, and just aggregate it all into a Twitter account and into our Discord and so on. So just kind of like the DAO's assistant. We're doing that with the community. So if anyone's interested, hop into our Discord. You can still help us create that agent. And then after that, I think the most interesting thing will be the deployment of our machine economy launchpad, which will allow communities or companies to issue sub DAOs. They'll be able to use our existing legal framework and our technology tech stack to kind of fundraise and launch. But it will allow them to create just a sub DAO for a certain vertical or a type of asset. Or potentially even a physical AI agent. So, for example, let's say you wanted to fund a community-owned vertical farm. You can create a sub DAO, go through governance and proposals. If the community approves it, you would be able to then have your own Genesis auction for this just one asset, and then you create your own sub DAO with your own assets, own liabilities, and you can issue your own tokens. And then, it's a way for us to scale the machine economy. The DAO can invest into these sub DAOs, or it could just be its own independent thing where outside capital is coming in, and it's a way for us to, be able to scale the machine economy on Peaq and allow your builders and people to be able to deploy these kinds of technologies and share from the benefit without having to go through the long process that we had to do with finding the right legal structure, building all of the infrastructure, all of the smart contracts, and so on. So just simplifying that for people, I think that's a really exciting update for the end of Q3 to Q4 2025.
Awesome. James, I don't know if we have any Q&A questions, but I'd love to use the remaining time for that.
Sure. Let me pull things up. I mean, I believe you did an amazing job on covering sort of what is happening with the D-pins and the directions that they are heading. And so going through the last few questions, I believe that we've covered all of these.
Okay, cool. Why don't we talk a bit about just where Deepin is in 2025? So yeah, interesting times for sure. What do we see as the primary challenges facing the space right now? And also, like, what are we most excited about in Deepin? I guess I can start with Leo.
I think that's a really good question. And the thing with Deepin is, I think, which gets everyone excited in the space is that Deepin is finally making Web3 tangible and real. But at the same time, it's also making it maybe too real for many people, because I heard it from a big investor the other day. They said Deepin is seen often a bit as a bear market narrative, because in the bear market, people go more to fundamentals and look at, okay, what actually has value. And the bull market, often people just, go to more speculative assets, which are of a shorter lifespan. So I think Deepin has the big advantage of, on the one side, finally bringing real world value to that token and having like intrinsic value in the token, for example, with buyback and burn mechanisms. But at the same time, it also doesn't attract a lot of the audience, which just goes is more looking for the more playful, less serious, more speculative aspect of the space. So I think that puts Deepin right now a bit in a more difficult spot, because it doesn't get the attention yet which it deserves. But at the same time, with Deepin, we have the opportunity for the first time to onboard tremendous amounts of new users to the space, for example, through applications like Silencio, and having that massive inflow of people that come in the space that are attracted by creating real value and earning rewards based on that, and not just by speculating. Because right now the space is still super small, and we need to break out of the existing user base. And Deepin is doing that. And Deepin is the frontier, as you guys at Messari always say, Dylan, as you're saying, right? Deepin is the frontier. And this frontier is just gaining a lot of momentum. I think for now, it's a lot of fundamental momentum. It's a lot of fundamental building going on. And it's only a matter of time until the wider market recognizes this, and until it also gets the, let's say, capital attention and momentum it deserves. Because ultimately, Deepin is going to be majority of Web3's market cap, because Deepin is just, as a whole industry space, so much bigger than what we see today in terms of market cap out there.
Awesome. Why don't we turn to Silencio? How do you feel about Deepin right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I can only sign off on what Leo just mentioned there. And it's definitely something that we hear from other Deepin founders all the time. So those who are really building and solving problems here, building deep fundamentals, are really as chilled as ever. The whole meme coin frenzy and stuff, like, I think that's just a distraction. The real builders here are going to be around, and I think that's never going to go away. If you're solving real problems over time, that value will translate back to the token side of things. And obviously, the utility token space has to demonstrate that it can deliver on that expectation and sustain that. But it's an opportunity or a challenge that, as a entrepreneur, I'm super excited of, really demonstrating that you can bring that flywheel, the Deepin flywheel, to spin.
I also see, I mean, Deepin in the future becoming ideally so big that it can really not be ignored by the general population in such way that my prediction is that we're going to be seeing major corporations making use of the value that Deepin can provide to enhance their own offerings. So I always like to say that we're not really competing in a direct sense, but rather we're going to be enhancing what is already out there, making everything more efficient, and at the end of the day, democratizing not only how we accrue this value, but how we commercialize this as well. And going back to also what Leo was saying about Deepin onboarding the masses, we like to also do everything we do at Silencio in such way that it can be understood on a Web 2 level. And this is why we created also a monthly raffle system that, let's say, goes more in the direction of how a lottery would work, assuming that over 80% of the world population will have played lottery some moment in their life. It's something that they can directly understand, right? And it's something that they can jump on board and be part of a monthly Silencio lottery without having to understand all the token dynamics behind it. And I think that deepens on a general level need to find very creative ways to address the masses, not only by solving real world problems, but by attracting them with real world solutions.
Great. I guess to wrap up, Mauricio, what do you think?
Yeah, I think obviously this is the first full cycle for Deepin. I mean, we've been building for the last few years, but it's new, right? So it takes time. Like a lot of Deepins are still finding product market fit. I think Silencio is one of the first ones to really reach that 500 user milestone and be one of those to do so quickly. Maybe Nate Tix and a couple others, but I think it's still early, right? So like anything early, there's ups and downs, but obviously the thesis and the trajectory that we're on hasn't changed. I think the machine economy is being built, and it's being built on Peaq, and it's only a matter of time till retail and the tension of these of the crypto communities come into the machine economy, and they start to realize. I mean, a lot of people do. I think a big majority of people do, not a majority, but a big percent of people do. But I think it's not at the masses yet, and I think that will happen over, like Leo mentioned, over the bear market where people are looking at fundamentals and so on. I think this will start to get adopted, and the value that the deep ends are generating and producing will continue to be there during the bear markets, and people will realize that, and then it'll probably be Deepin's time to shine and have a lot of these real machine economy um, products and proof of concepts ready and launched for the next cycle. And I think that's when we'll see that mass adoption and all of these Web 2 people coming in to crypto without even realizing it through Deepin.
Awesome. I think that about concludes our time. Thanks so much for everyone for coming out. Thank you to all listeners who tuned in. Quick shill, Messari on physical AI. We released a deep dive on the whole decentralized physical AI sector this morning, so check that out if you want to learn more. And I'll turn back to James to wrap everything up.
Yeah, thanks everybody. I mean, that's been an amazing hour. I hope that everybody was able to really learn and take away from that space some really exciting things happening in the ecosystem and across Web3 with Deepin. But that's a wrap for today's space. So again, thank you very much, Dylan, for hosting and directing this. It was really good. Really enjoyed hearing your insights and your questions. Thank you to our speakers for taking the time out of your busy days, and mostly and most importantly, thank you to the community for taking the time to listen to us today. I know that for some of you, it's early in the morning, mid-afternoon, or late in the evening, and we do greatly appreciate the time that you take to support us and listen to these spaces. If you want to learn more about anybody on these spaces, please make sure that you follow Messari, Dylan, Leo with Peaq, Mauricio with Xmachina, Theo and Tomas with Silencio. All of their updates and information can be found on their Twitter profiles. But for now, and for myself, James, community manager at EOT and Labs and Peaq Network, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. And until next time, the machine economy is here. Let's take advantage of it. Let's be first in line. Let's become friendly with the machines. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We will do this again very soon.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Speak soon.
Thank you.
Thank you,
LFG.
everyone.
Thanks, guys. Amazing space. Take care.
Thanks, guys.